welcome back to my watercolor channel. Today I paint a giant panda, and the first thing that I do is to spray some water onto the paper and then spread it with a big brush. I have some phthalo blue ready, which I put at the top of the head, and I use a medium-sized brush. At the same time, I have also prepared some purple, which is made out of phthalo blue and some opera rose. So while the paper is still wet, I add a very light layer of the purples, so both phthalo blue and the purple I'm mixing together, and then I add some more purple above the nose. Then I continue with the rest of the body and add some phthalo blue, basically mixture this with a little bit of indigo blue, and then adding the purple at the same time, and as well as some of the opera rose, and then a little bit stronger purple. And if the paper is too dry, I use a small spray bottle to spread the paint, and as you can see, my painting is tilted so everything flows down. Then I watered the right side of the panda and continue the same way as I have before, so just adding a little bit stronger layer of phthalo blue and some purple, more of an opera rose, and then spread it slightly, and then adding more indigo blue. The giant panda is holding a bamboo in its hand, so I try not to overpaint this one. The chest of the panda is quite darkish, and here I also wanted to emphasize the bamboo shot, so adding more of the darker colors into the chest areas. Then adding a very strong indigo blue at the side and adding a roundness to the arm as well. Then I continue with the ears, and obviously the paper is dry, so I wet it with a bigger brush and just adding a mixture of phthalo blue and indigo blue as I have it before, and then spread it lightly. And then also adding some more of the purple, and then more of the indigo blue at the top of the ears and underneath, and here as well, considering the roundness of the ear. I usually start with a lighter layer and then adding more of a darker colors, so I have an idea what, for example, the ear looks like and where I can emphasize the highlights. And then I continue with the eye, and yes, of course, just adding the first layer, so it's just phthalo blue, and adding it onto both eyes, and then again underneath the onto the nose, and it's more of an indigo blue and phthalo blue as well to add more darker bits already. And then at the sides, a little bit of a darker color, and it is a pinch of Payne's gray. Underneath, it has a darker layer the same colors as I have used before, and it's mixing a little bit with the paints gray. Then I continue with the head, and I try not to add too much color or too strong colors, because apart from the eye areas and the ears, the pandas is relatively obviously white, so I really want to keep it this way and don't add too much there. So basically it is kind of like the same layer of a very light purple. Then adding carefully some more of the darker color, so I added more of a paints gray to the indigo blue and phthalo blue mixture, and carefully I spread it around the eye. I tried to look at a reference picture, although it's not that realistic in my case, and not adding very dark layer yet, because I want to add later on when the first layer has dried a stronger layer of a blackish color, and it really should be in balance with the eye so that eye is not overshadowed by the black fur around it, because the eye itself is quite dark. And then continue with the rest of the body, so just adding more of an indigo blue to the arm, and I leave a little bit of the first layer to peek through. And here adding as well carefully with a too small brush, and then spreading with a bigger brush in the direction to emphasize the roundness of the arm. The same is on its paw, adding more of a dark color, so as the body of the panda is rather dark, and then building it up. You can see the hard edges of the paw, so it's kind of like emphasized, and then adding more of a bluish color on the other arm on the left side. And adding here as well more darker colors and using different directions, and a little bit of emphasizing the fur structure. And then it's really kind of like wet to wet, and have to make sure to see that the paper is relatively moist so that the darker colors spread nicely. Then as well at the top, bit more of a bluish colors, and now here I want to emphasize the difference between the white and the black fur. So in my case a bit more of a purplish colors, but really kind of like emphasizing the chest areas, that it sets it apart from the head areas. If the paper is dry, I wet it with a bigger brush, and then I add with a smaller brush the darker colors. And then I continue as well with the head of the panda, and I thought it was a little bit too pale, but you have to see yourself. And then adding more of a fur structure as well, as this is more of an abstract idea. I don't have like a hair by hair. Now adding more of a purplish to emphasize the front. Now the panda has quite a particular head structure or a skull. So really it is important to have a look at the reference picture. Then I continue with the nose of the panda and adding some more of a dark colors as well as around the eye. So here I use more of indigo blue and then some Payne's gray. Now I'm here quite careful, so I haven't used any masking fluid, so I have to make sure that the reflection and the eye remains, and it kind of gives a roundness to the eye. Then I add more of a darker color around the mouth and adding some more of a dark colors as well as around the eye. So here I use more of indigo blue and then some Payne's gray, and again adding more of a purplish, so looking all the time where can I emphasize the snout of the panda, and then adding more layer to it. I have some information about the panda, and this here is a giant panda, so it can be only found in China. However, its black and white coat is quite recognized anywhere else in the world. Unfortunately, it is quite an endangered species. It is only located in specific areas of China. And their population, especially in the wild, varies from year to year, but it is between 1,000 and 3,000 individuals. They are quite threatened, obviously, by losing their habitats, as by deforestation and by expansion of farming land. Another reason is that the female panda is fertile only once a year, and it's for 3 days, so there's not much time to get pregnant. The giant panda is quite important in China, and it is being considered as a national symbol as well as a national treasure, very often connected with symbols of peace and friendship. The black and the white of the fur reminds of the yin and yang constellation. The first panda was a gift outside of China, was a gift to the Chicago Zoo in 1936. So until then, the pandas were not as much known in the Western cultures. So what do the pandas do all day long? Basically, they eat mostly 14 hours a day. Their favorite food, or the food that they really need, are bamboo shoots, and mainly because in the roots there's loads of starch and as well as protein. Otherwise, they eat some specific fruits. They can get up to 15 to 20 years old. Of course, in captivity, this might differ, and they can get much older than that. For example, I think there was one which got 30 years old. However, they are quite expensive to keep in a captivity, so they cost 5 times more than an elephant, and it makes them the most expensive, one of the most expensive animals to keep in a zoo. Here on my painting, I continued to add a little bit of the background, so I added more of the greenish color, which are basically mixed out of some lemon yellow and some phthalo blue, very light layer. There is a bamboo forest at the back, but I do not add too much detail. By adding more of the dark colors onto the panda or around the panda, it helps to create a bigger contrast. And as well as on the sides, and then onto the arm. Although the sides are still blurry because the paper was wettish, then I'm mixing a brownish or dark brownish color out of burnt amber and deep yellow, so it's a bit lightish, and adding it to the background. Then I'm still not happy how light the panda is, especially in the dark areas, so really using a bigger brush and adding more of Payne's gray to the chest and to the left arm of the panda, so it kind of sticks out more. I did wet the arm now a little bit, but I let the first layer to come through as well. So, and again, using brush strokes, so it really emphasizes the different direction where the arm is going, and adding more and more of Payne's gray. It helps to split the big brush a little bit, and then adding more color to the chest and underneath, so the head is more emphasized. And then to the sides as well. Then the arm has become quite blurry, so it's really difficult to see where is the arm, so where is the chest. So I added more pigments to the arm, and I haven't wetted it as such, but then I add at the end more of a water so it spreads, and then let's see what happens if it gets more salt, but and adding more of a dark color. So now it's kind of really just emphasizing the bear who has become a bit too pale. And then continue with the patches around the eye. So it is quite important to leave the whiteness around the eyes, so there is like a distinction between the eye and the eye patches basically, so it's, you can see that there are eyes lurking, otherwise it's really just a bit too dark. And I'm spreading the paint carefully. Wetting a little bit of the mouth and adding more of the darker color there as well, and a bit here of the turquoise blue, so of phthalo blue as well to the sides. At the end I thought I wasn't sure about the balance, so I added some bamboo leaves at the front, in front of the panda, and a little bit at the back. So, but I wasn't using wet to wet at this point, just adding the greenish colors with a stronger pigments, and then varying between the strengths as well. Then adding stronger bluish or very light greenish colors. Okay, that's it. That was a bit longer, but thank you for watching, and remember to subscribe. Bye!